because our nickname for Spears was Killer Spears.
Yeah.
And it's a fact of life, you know, that, you know, his job was to get rid of Germans, and he didn't care where they were.
Yeah.
And,
so all the stories about him are true?
The stories basically about him are true. And he continued, Spears continued in the service after the war.
Right, yeah.
And at one point, I have the book Spandau, written by Albert Speer, at home. And while I was reading Albert Speer's book, I opened it up to one of the pages that it has the agenda of the governors of Spandau, the representatives of Spandau from the different countries, and they all had to sign it, 4 of them, at the bottom, and which I think they did it every week. And at the very bottom, it said Ronald C. Spears, and oh my God Almighty, you know, Killer Spears.
Is that Spandau?
In charge of.
That must have been a fun job for him.
No one would believe that. So anyway, the next reunion I was at, I told the commanding general, who had been commanding general in Vietnam, repeat his name.
Don't do that. Sal Matheson.
Oh,
Matheson. Well, he was a great friend of Compton's, and but anyway, Matheson would come into a company reunion and sit down, and he'd always sit in a little, like a settee couch, and he would say, "Where's George?" he would call for George Love, because he knew he could get it told about 100 different jokes that George Love has never forgot one his whole life, you know. And so anyway, he and the general would sit together, you know, corporal or something in the army. But anyway, it's just a wonderful thing. But anyway.
When was that picture taken on that on the bleachers? That last picture.
Just before, that was the veranda of our room.
Oh.
Yeah, and
the picture of you and Dad was the veranda of your room.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. And in the ski lodge.
Yeah, in the ski lodge, and Billy Larson was at the Jeep down below, but the picture was taken before Billy had yelled at me, to find me. And
but you know that picture where the company's on bleachers in the field?
Yeah.
That's in Kaprun, right?
That's Kaprun. That's the last company picture.
And is that, somebody asked me, because I was there in September, is there like a little castle across the street? Do you remember that?
Well, there's really nothing left to it.
Yeah, right. And there's like 2 kind of chateau, not chateaus.
Yeah, there's really nothing left to it. And
because that was kind of spooky to see that.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
The bleachers were still there.
No, the bleachers were there, but just to see the field, and I could see the roof line of the house that was in the picture that they're in. The roof is still there.
Yeah.
It was just it was neat. It was really cool. So that was after the banquet? That was the last day you were all there?
Yeah, that was after the banquet. But it could have been a day or two before, really, because I had just left almost immediately for Paris. And whereas the company was going to be there several more weeks before they left, and but I was sent by the division to Paris as a technical advisor for the airplanes that were under the Eiffel Tower that had been brought in.
Was that sort of a reward for you, of sorts, to send you to Paris? Or did it was
probably because of my appearance.
Because you were so handsome?
Yeah, because I was so damn good looking.
I bet you were. You probably cleaned up nice in a dress uniform.
Now, Susan probably has heard this story from you before.
Yeah.
But tell her about being, after you got out of the hospital, and you sitting in that bar, and the trolley car coming down the street.
Well, that would be a good one to take.
Yeah, well...
and when was that?
It was just just before the war ended, I'd been evacuated off the Rhine River with what stupid American battalion doctors had diagnosed with me to be malaria. And I had some kind of a flu bug, but it had some symptoms like malaria, I guess, or sweating and cold and one thing or another. And George Luz came and saw me on my bunk, and he said, I'm going to get Captain Spears. You're going to get out of here. I said, I don't have to get out of here. I'll be all right. And so he goes and gets Spears, and Spears looks at me, and he said, you're getting out of here.
What city were you in?
Huh?
Where were you when this was?
We're on the Rhine River.
Oh, okay.
Across from the Ruhr Pocket in Germany.
Okay.
The last area that we occupied.
Okay.
And so I was sent to Liège, and it was about the 6th, around the 6th of June or so, not June but May, no, April or May. And 2 days after I left, the division left for Germany. So I wasn't with them, and they left for Germany. I was in the hospital. I had been released before the end of the war, and I was sent to a redeployment camp in Verviers, Belgium, east of Liège, Belgium. And so when I was at this camp, you had to wait there until they identified where your unit was, and then tried to figure out how to get you from one place to the next. But while I was at Verviers for 2 or 3 days, Frank Perconti came walking down the road. I was sitting at a sidewalk bar, and drinking a beer, and he'd been hit in Bastogne, and he had just been released out of England and going back to the unit. And so I yelled at him, and he came and sat with me, and so we were drinking beer, and then the next thing you know, Frank says, there's a trolley that ran up and down the street. Frank says, look who's up on that trolley. And so up on the very top of it, on the very top front of it, sits Burr. So we yelled at him, and off of there he jumps off of there, comes down and puts his arms around us. And
well,
so
what was he doing there? What on earth?
Well, he was coming out of the hospital too, and so anyway, we spend all afternoon out there in the lobby. I mean, in the sidewalk cafe, and then when it got dark, we walked inside the end of the bar, and the three of us were standing there, and all of a sudden, Frank could see some guys standing outside the window looking in, and Frank says, he said, look out the window there. And I said, yeah. He said, isn't that guy Jeter or Jeter or something? And I said, no, I don't know, is he? He wasn't in my platoon, but he was in Frank's platoon, and Sobel had kicked him out because Sobel had thought originally he was Jewish, and then he found out he wasn't. So he got mad about that, so he kicks him out of the company. And so finally this guy came in with two friends, and they stood about 5 or 6 feet away from us, and he's telling these friends of his, he said, see, there are 3 of those crazy guys I was telling you about in Toccoa, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
Then
Oh, my God.
we'd all survived.
I've heard him tell the story before, but I never made the connection with the guys that were pointing at you.
Huh?
I said, I've heard you tell me the story before, but I never made the connection with who those guys were. Oh, wow. How funny.